Internet news with no filter. Welcome to News Sesh. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're diving into a really important topic. Yeah, we're talking about Piper Rockelle, the teen YouTuber turned star who just hit 18, and how social media basically exploded the second that happened. Within hours of her birthday posts going live, the internet lit up. Hashtags, trending topics, memes, everyone suddenly had an opinion. Some people were cheering her on for finally taking control of her career. Others were horrified, calling it proof of how toxic the online spotlight can be for someone who's grown up in it. And honestly, this moment isn't just about Piper. It's about what happens when the internet raises a child and then suddenly expects them to be an adult overnight. So today we're unpacking everything. The rise of Piper Rockelle, the insane pressure of growing up online, the fan obsession, and the uncomfortable truth about what happens when child influencers turn 18 in front of millions of followers. If you've somehow missed the phenomenon, here's a quick recap. Piper Rockelle started her career as a child entertainer, dancing, acting, and appearing in YouTube skits years ago. She quickly built a brand around being the fun, bubbly, fearless kid who could do everything: music videos, challenges, and collaborations with other kid influencers. By the time most of us were still figuring out middle school lockers, Piper was pulling in millions of views per video. Her fans weren't just watching, they were growing up right alongside her. That's a big part of the story. Piper's audience has always been roughly her age. So as she grew, her fans did too. But the problem with growing up on the internet is that the platform never forgets you as a kid. You can mature, change, evolve, but people keep projecting who they think you are. Her early videos were classic 2010s YouTube, slime challenges, pranks, music covers, all squeaky clean fun. But as her fame exploded, so did the scrutiny. Rumors, online drama, management changes. Piper's name became a constant in YouTube commentary circles. People argued over whether her content was age-appropriate, whether her team pushed her too hard, or if she was just an ambitious creator carving her own path. No matter which side you were on, everyone agreed on one thing. Piper Rockelle wasn't just another teen influencer. She was a brand, a business, and, in many ways, a symbol of how YouTube raises its stars. Fast forward to now. The minute Piper turned 18, social media had a full-blown meltdown. Tweets flooded in, half congratulatory, half worried. Fan accounts counted down to midnight. Gossip pages speculated what adult Piper would do next. Think about that. For most people, turning 18 means getting a driver's license, maybe applying for college. For Piper, it meant millions of strangers dissecting what kind of adult she's allowed to be. Some fans said, "Let her live, she's finally free." Others said, "This is exactly what's wrong with influencer culture. We watched her grow up, and now it feels weird." And that's where the controversy really takes shape, the uncomfortable mix of fascination and judgment that follows every child star who becomes an adult in real time. Parasocial relationships, that's the fancy term for when fans feel like they personally know a celebrity. Piper's audience grew up with her daily vlogs, her friendships, her heartbreaks, all captured on camera. So, when she crossed that adult threshold, those parasocial lines blurred even more. Fans felt protective, almost possessive. Some said they wanted to keep her safe. Others started making assumptions about her future choices, treating her life like an open-world game they had a say in. And this is where things get messy. Because online, especially on platforms like TikTok and YouTube, the line between supporting someone and owning their image can vanish really quickly. Alright, so Piper's birthday comes and goes, and the internet absolutely loses it. We're talking trending hashtags, viral memes, reaction videos, you name it. Some fans were genuinely celebrating, posting "Congrats, Piper, you did it" messages. But almost immediately, the other side of the internet kicked in. People started speculating, debating, and frankly, projecting onto her every possible future move. Some were excited, some were angry, and some just obsessed. Why? Because Piper didn't just turn 18. She officially crossed into adult influencer territory, and the internet loves to police that line. Let's pause here for a second. This isn't just fans being fans. This is parasocial obsession in action. Psychologists define parasocial relationships as one-sided attachments fans form to celebrities or influencers. Fans feel like they know the person intimately, even though the influencer doesn't know them at all. In Piper's case, many of her fans have literally grown up with her. They watched her progress from music challenges to acting roles to her own brand of daily content. So when she officially turned 18, people felt like it was their moment too. And that's where the drama starts. Immediately after the birthday announcement, fan communities split. Some cheered. Finally, Piper can make her own choices. Others panicked. She's growing up too fast. What does this mean for her content? And then came the speculation, which, let's be honest, is a dangerous rabbit hole. People commenting on her aesthetic, her style, even her personal life. Rumors swirling, exaggerations spreading like wildfire. It's not unusual for influencers to face this kind of scrutiny, but Piper's situation is extreme. She's one of the few who literally grew up in front of millions, so every milestone is broadcast and debated. And here's the kicker, the intensity isn't just about Piper. It's about how the internet treats children who grow up online. Fans, creators, even news outlets can't help but apply adult expectations to someone who was a child yesterday. Researchers have been studying this phenomenon for years. Studies show that child influencers often experience heightened stress and anxiety compared to peers who grow up offline.
Why?
There are several key factors. Constant public scrutiny. Every outfit, word, or smile is judged by millions. Parasocial pressure. Fans feel entitled to influence decisions or judge milestones. Blurred boundaries. Work, life, and performance are inseparable, and that can delay normal social development. A 2022 study from the Journal of Media Psychology found that children growing up in the public eye are at higher risk for self-esteem issues, social anxiety, and identity conflicts, especially when the content that made them famous centers on personal expression and personality. For Piper, that means every birthday, outfit, or video isn't just content. It's performance under the world's microscope. And the higher the views, the higher the pressure. So, what exactly happened on her birthday that set the internet ablaze? Some fans criticized her for changing too fast. Others praised her independence and creativity. Social media influencers and commentary channels piled in, dissecting every clip. This is a classic example of what experts call audience ownership, when fans treat someone's life as if it's public property. And it's exhausting. Imagine waking up every day knowing that millions of people are judging you for something as personal as growing up. That's the reality for Piper, and for many young creators. There's a bigger question here. How much should fans be involved in a young creator's personal milestones? Ethicists argue that while fans are invested, they don't have actual ownership over someone's identity. Parents and managers play a huge role, but the online community often disregards that, pressuring the influencer to remain childlike or perform in a way that satisfies audience expectations. And here's the kicker. Even when creators legally become adults, audiences often still view them through the lens of their childhood persona. That's not just unfair. It's psychologically complicated. Researchers call this phenomenon digital identity confinement. It happens when an influencer is stuck in the public's perception of them. For example, fans may celebrate a milestone like turning 18, but also criticize natural changes, style, maturity, independence. Influencers may feel forced to maintain a kid-friendly persona even as they try to grow up. The pressure to conform to expectations can delay emotional and social growth, leading to stress or identity conflict. Piper isn't just celebrating a birthday. She's navigating the impossible line between her childhood brand and adult independence. Let's be real, the internet is not kind to young female influencers. Male creators often get praised for independence or growing up. Female creators like Piper, however, face judgment, rumors, and unsolicited opinions about their choices and future. This double standard isn't new. Psychologists warn that it can cause young women to feel hypervisible and hyperjudged, which impacts self-esteem, confidence, and even career choices. So when Piper turned 18, it wasn't just a birthday. It was a test of public patience, morality, and obsession. Alright, so we've talked about the internet meltdown when Piper turned 18, but here's the next layer of drama. The media got involved. From YouTube commentary channels to online tabloids, everyone wanted to weigh in, dissecting her birthday, her career, and, more importantly, what her adult life might look like. This coverage isn't unusual for influencers, but Piper's situation is unique. She didn't just grow up online. She grew up performing for an audience that literally witnessed her transition from child star to adult. And the result? Media coverage ranged from supportive, Piper Rockelle grows up gracefully, to sensationalist, what Piper will do now shocked fans. Reaction videos were everywhere. Commentary creators dissected her outfit choices, the aesthetics of her birthday content, the new Piper versus the old Piper, every word she said in her birthday clips. Fans watching these videos quickly joined in, some defending Piper, others criticizing her. It's a mix of admiration, projection, and, frankly, obsession. And here's the reality. This is exactly the type of attention psychologists warn about. It's a form of pressure called audience policing, where viewers feel entitled to judge an influencer's life milestones. Let's break it down. Social media encourages instant reaction and judgment. For a creator like Piper, every video or post is analyzed instantly. Millions of fans feel personally involved in her choices. The line between admiration and control starts to blur. And remember, this isn't just idle commentary. Studies suggest that parasocial obsession can actually affect the creator's mental health. A 2021 study in cyberpsychology, behavior, and social networking showed that influencers who grow up under constant online scrutiny report higher stress, burnout, and anxiety than those without public exposure. Add to that a predominantly teenage fan base, and the stakes for mental health increase dramatically. So when people tweet, "She's changed too much," or "Why isn't she like she used to be?" it might feel like harmless commentary, but for Piper, it's an ongoing pressure cooker of expectations. So, how did Piper respond? Interestingly, she's stayed relatively calm, posting birthday content, interacting with fans, and continuing her usual creative work. But here's the thing, staying calm online doesn't equal immunity. Experts point out that young creators often perform emotional regulation in public, which can mask underlying stress or anxiety. Psychologist Dr. Emily Tanner explains, influencers who grew up online learn to perform composure. But performing emotional stability constantly, especially under intense scrutiny, can contribute to long-term emotional fatigue. In other words, Piper's smile on camera might be genuine, or it might be a survival mechanism, and the audience usually can't tell the difference. Here's the bigger picture. Piper turning 18 isn't just a milestone for her. It's a milestone for the way the internet treats child stars. Think about it. A teen influencer grows up, and suddenly fans and media try to fit them into categories, still kid-friendly or adult content now. Every post, video, or story gets scrutinized. The creator is essentially walking a tightrope between maintaining their old brand and expressing their new independence. And that tightrope can be dangerous. According to research in the Journal of Adolescent Research, children who grow up online may struggle with identity formation because their self is constantly performed and judged. In Piper's case, she's navigating this minefield while still producing content that millions of fans expect. She's trying to balance audience expectations, personal identity, professional growth, emotional well-being. It's no wonder the internet reacts so strongly, because it's not just about Piper, it's about all the fans who grew up with her projecting their own ideas onto her life. Let's get real. The situation raises some tough ethical questions. Is it fair to expect someone to remain childlike because that's how the internet remembers them? How much control does a young creator really have over their personal brand when their audience is emotionally invested? And what responsibility do parents, managers, and platforms have to protect these young stars? Experts argue that platforms like YouTube and Instagram should consider psychological safety measures such as limiting public commenting for younger creators, offering mental health support for teen influencers, encouraging transparency and consent with audiences. Dr. Tanner adds, children raised as public figures face an unusual form of social surveillance. They need guidance to develop autonomy without the constant pressure of public judgment. Piper's story shows just how complex that challenge is and why turning 18 doesn't automatically make the public's expectations disappear. Here's what the research suggests for fans and followers. Recognize boundaries. Fans don't own the influencer's personal choices. Avoid projecting expectations. Just because you grew up with someone doesn't mean you get to dictate their behavior. Support independence. Celebrate milestones like birthdays without judgment or speculation. Understand parasocial dynamics. Know that influencers aren't performing for you specifically. They're creating content for a broad audience. In Piper's case, she's not just celebrating a birthday, she's navigating a complex world of fame, audience expectations, and personal growth. And respecting that isn't just polite, it's ethical. So, to sum up part 3, Piper's birthday wasn't just a party, it was a public test of identity and perception. Fans, media, and commentators all had opinions, projections, and critiques. Growing up online is complicated. Even turning 18 doesn't remove the pressure, scrutiny, or the psychological weight of millions of observers. All right, we've talked about the internet reaction, fan obsession, and media frenzy. But now let's get to the real-life consequences, the part most people don't see. The stress, burnout, and long-term effects of growing up on social media. Being a child influencer isn't just fun challenges, music videos, or viral content. Behind the scenes, it's often long filming hours, constant performance pressure, editing, planning, and promoting content. And yes, dealing with millions of strangers commenting on your every move. Combine that with the natural stress of adolescence, hormonal changes, school, friendships, and you've got a perfect storm for mental exhaustion. Psychologists and researchers have studied what happens to children who grow up online. The results are concerning. Chronic stress. Constant performance triggers cortisol release, the stress hormone. Over years, this can affect physical health, sleep patterns, and even cognitive development. Anxiety and depression. Public scrutiny and parasocial pressure create a heightened sense of anxiety. Teen influencers are more likely to report symptoms of depression compared to peers. Identity confusion. When your personality is constantly consumed as content, it can be hard to separate who you are from who the audience thinks you are. Dr. Lauren Bishop, a child psychologist specializing in social media effects, says, "These kids are growing up in a fishbowl. Every outfit, video, or reaction is observed and judged. Over time, it creates chronic stress that most people can't imagine." Burnout isn't just a word. It's a very real problem for child influencers like Piper. Burnout can appear as loss of motivation, irritability, and emotional fatigue. Some young creators feel trapped by the expectation to keep producing viral content. Fans may not understand why the creator wants a break, and online harassment can make it worse. Even top creators who seem happy on camera often experience long periods of stress off camera. Imagine filming, editing, and promoting daily content while trying to maintain friendships, schoolwork, and a personal life, all under the scrutiny of millions of eyes. Dr. Bishop adds, "The combination of public attention and internal pressure creates a burnout cycle that's difficult to escape. The mental load is significant, and it's compounded when fans hold unrealistic expectations. What happens when this stress continues over years? Research indicates several potential long-term effects. Social anxiety. Growing up with an audience can make real-life social interactions intimidating. Chronic perfectionism. Constant evaluation by strangers can lead to a lifelong fear of failure. Difficulty establishing identity. When your public persona is one thing and your private self is another, self-identity development can be delayed or distorted. Emotional fatigue. The emotional toll of performing happiness or positivity can persist into adulthood. In Piper's case, she's still young, but the pressures she's faced, turning 18 in front of millions of viewers, managing fan expectations, and balancing personal growth, are exactly the kinds of stressors that lead to long-term burnout if not managed carefully. So next time we see a young influencer growing up online, remember, behind every viral video, reaction clip, and fan debate, there's a real person experiencing stress, burnout, and the long-term effects of growing up in front of millions. Piper's story is a cautionary tale, not because of scandal, but because it reminds us that childhood and adolescence in the digital age are more complicated than we realize. And that's a wrap, guys. Like if you did, subscribe for more fun. See ya!